Thank you for staying with us this hour on One American News. I'm Stephanie Myers. Joe Biden is moving swiftly on his agenda to remake large parts of the economy through the use of executive orders. Records show he signed more than 30 executive orders, nearly as many as the past 4 presidents combined at this point in their terms. Now, advocacy groups, including the nonpartisan nonprofit New Civil Liberties Alliance, is raising concerns. Here to discuss this issue further is the Executive Director and General Counsel of New Civil Liberties Alliance, Mark Chenoweth. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Stephanie. Good morning.
Good morning to you as well. So far, we've seen President Biden signing 34 executive orders in comparison to President Trump's 15 executive orders in the same time frame. The New Civil Liberties Alliance views the administrative state as an especially serious threat to constitutional freedoms. What do you say to those who argue presidents are appropriately implementing their electoral mandate?
Well, I think the electoral mandate is something that belongs to Congress and the president. And the Constitution instructs that if you want to pass laws, you need to do that through passage of the law through both houses of Congress and then signature by the president. We all remember Schoolhouse Rock. That's how it works. And this more modern trend toward resorting to executive orders is troubling. Executive orders aren't supposed to bind anyone outside of the executive branch, and trying to use them as laws is an unconstitutional shortcut.
And as previously mentioned, back in January, 6 Republican attorneys general wrote a letter to Biden raising their concerns, saying he's following the unfortunate path of executive unilateralism. Now, we hear of conservatives hoping to revive a doctrine called non-delegation, which would limit how much power Congress can delegate to agencies. How is the New Civil Liberties Alliance reacting to this movement?
Well, we're very supportive of reinvigorating the non-delegation doctrine. It's a little misleading to call it a doctrine because it's actually the very first thing in the Constitution. Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution says that all legislative power will be vested in a Congress of the United States. And that vesting clause gives all of the legislative power to Congress and none of it to the executive branch, none of it to the president. So when the president tries to use an executive order in place of legislation, he's really violating Article 1, Section 1 of the United States Constitution.
Especially since Democrats, they have now the White House and control of both chambers of Congress. You would think that they would go through the legislative process more and back it as even sort of bipartisanship, trying to get Republicans on board. Now, this New Civil Liberties Alliance is a nonpartisan, nonprofit civil rights organization. What sort of cases are you working on?
Well, related to the executive orders in particular, we have been pushing back against the nationwide eviction moratorium since last September. That moratorium was originally put into effect by an order from the CDC, and it's now been extended by an executive order from President Biden. We don't think there's any statutory authority. Congress has never authorized the CDC to be in charge of housing policy or to do nationwide eviction moratoriums. Another case that we are working on is against the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. We think that the CFPB is unconstitutionally funded because rather than getting its appropriations from Congress, like every other agency in the government, the CFPB is directly funded by the Federal Reserve. And we don't think that the Constitution permits that kind of unusual funding arrangement because it takes Congress, again, out of the oversight of business, and it prevents Congress from really keeping control of what that independent agency is doing.
Absolutely. And lastly, where can our viewers go to learn more about you and your work with the NCLA?
NCLAlegal.org is our website. We would love for people to visit, learn more about the more than 30 cases that we have going on, many of which are against federal government agencies.
Again, Executive Director and General Counsel of New Civil Liberties Alliance, Mark Chenoweth. Thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you.